GDPR is the biggest reboot in our thinking about data protection and privacy for over 2 decades. What it's done is it's made a difference in terms of how we approach the use of people's personal data. It takes what it's called a risk-based approach to data protection and privacy, and that means looking at risk from the eyes and perspective of your customer, your client, your supporter if you're a voluntary sector organisation, and very importantly your employees. It's about making sure that we're not doing things which is going to cause harm or damage to what the regulation describes as the rights and freedoms and interests of those people. If we're able to do that and to mitigate that risk, reduce it to a residual risk which doesn't cause harm and damage, record what we've done to make sure that actually, should there be a personal data breach post the 25th of May 2018, we have a narrative that we can put before the Information Commissioner's Office, the supervisory authority, and if you work in a regulated market, the regulator. And so hopefully they can see we've been very appropriate in terms of what we've done. We've taken those appropriate steps to reduce risk in terms of what we're doing, and we shouldn't get whacked. If we don't take those opportunities, if we fall outside of that framework, then we can't expect any mercy. One of the things we've seen within the sector is this kind of almost obsessive nature of looking at fines as being the one reason why we should comply. I would suggest when you're watching this interview, take a step back. Think about what this is really about. This is really about reputation, not really about regulation. It's about doing the right thing because actually it's the right thing to do. There are lots of mechanisms which the Information Commissioner's Office, the supervisory authority, have at their disposal. Fines are not the only thing they can do. There's actually a thing called a stop order, and that means if you fail to carry out organisational technical measures which you've been asked to do because what you've been doing has caused a problem, people's data has been misused or stolen or hacked, and if you haven't put those organisational technical measures in place, they'll come back and say, well, we'll give you 6 months to do so. So this is all about protecting reputation. This is all about business continuity. And one of the things we do at Henley Business School with this programme, which other people just don't do, is to join the dots on 3 very important points: business continuity, risk and technology. If you're able to do that and to see this as an opportunity to deepen digital trust so you can do more with personal data, that's the opportunity for marketers and for advertisers and for brand owners. If you fail to see that, then actually you're missing the opportunity of what this is really about. And it's about, really speaking, making sure that you continue to market the products and services you want to your customers, your consumers, in what is effectively the world's largest single digital market, and to do that in an ethical way which doesn't cause harm or damage. That's great marketing. One of the biggest challenges for brand owners and also for marketers is to understand how they comply with Article 25, which is data protection by design and by default. So what does that mean? What it means is, very simply, any product or service that you offer in the digital market, or indeed outside of the digital market, post the 25th of May 2018, must have data protection baked into it. Because if it doesn't, it's actually unlawful, which is quite serious if you think about it. So all that marketing and advertising campaign could be completely wasted. But more importantly, any revenue that you think you may get from it will be void because actually it doesn't have data protection baked in. So it's really important right now, for those of you watching this interview, is to think about those products and services, think about the risk that some of those may present. And it may not be the ones that make the most money that actually present the greatest risk. And understand how then you can mitigate that to make sure you put in organisational technical measures around that product so it doesn't cause harm and damage to your customers should they use it. This is particularly relevant if you're thinking about the Internet of Things, which actually is very exciting. But what about the data protection elements of the Internet of Things? How we don't actually suck someone's data, stick it onto a cloud without them knowing, without them understanding what's happening to that information, how is it being used, how is it being analysed. Lots of manufacturers have fallen foul over Article 25. One of the tips I can offer for you watching this is to think about training. Training is your front-line defence to protect business continuity from your point of view. It's your front-line defence to make sure you're managing risk. in terms of your business as an agency, but also for your clients as well. And to think about technology, to the use of technology. Technology is very powerful and can be used very easily to help you navigate your way through the 99 articles of the GDPR, which is an interesting exercise in itself. But actually, it's about strengthening your reputation, about building trust, a deeper sense of trust. And people now use the internet, use their mobile devices much more freely to do a whole range of things. There are always data protection implications in all of those things. So think about your role within the value chain. And at any point in the chain, the weakest link of that chain could be you. It could be a data processor, someone that you outsourced the processing of personal data to. It could be your cloud service provider. So a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And remember, under the GDPR, as a data controller, someone who's making the decisions as to the means and purposes for processing personal data, you are responsible for every point of that value chain. But most important of all, reboot your thinking and always think customer, client, supporter, if you're a voluntary sector organisation, and your employees. Always think that as part of that, and you won't go far wrong. You'll be within the regulation. Fail to do that, you'll be taking a step outside of the regulation, and there are severe consequences, not just from a financial perspective, but from a reputational one as well.